Okay, now we're going to talk about the locus or the focus and the directrix of the parabola. A parabola, technically, by geometric definition, is the locus of all points that are equidistant from the focus and the directrix. That means that from the focus to any point on the parabola and down to the directrix should be equal. Now, my drawing is probably, not very close here, but one of the things that tells us is the distance from here to here, a point, the vertex, and from here to here are going to be equal. And that way we call that p, the distance p. And we can also call that the absolute value of p because it is a distance. But in this case, we look at it and we know that p is 3. So here's our directrix, here's our focus, our vertex lies smack in the middle. Now, for a parabola with the equation of y equals ax squared, the vertex is at 0, 0, which means the focus is going to be at 0p, because it's p distance from the vertex to the focus, and the directrix is going to be in the opposite direction. It's going to be y equals negative p, which means it's going to cross the axis here in the negative number section, where we say that a equals 1 over 4p. Now, knowing that we know this a equals 1 over 4p will help us with a lot of things. It makes it possible for us to find other parts, to find the equation, and to graph it. Because if we know a, we can find p, and if we know p, we can find a. So let's give it a try. Find the coordinates of the focus of the equation of the directrix and the equation of the directrix for this parabola right here. Very simple. We know that 3/7 or 3 over 7 is a. So that means a equals 1 over 4p. Cross multiply. If we do, we end up with 12p equals 1 over 7, and p equals 7 over 12. That means that our focus, since we're at 0, 0, is going to be 0p, 7 over 12, and our directrix is going to be y equals negative p, negative 7 over 12. Okay, now let's look at this a little differently. There are a couple of ways. I put in class that list of all of those little equations, and we're going to talk about those in a minute. But first, I want to talk about the common sense approach to these parabolas. Let's say we have a vertex of -2, 1 and a focus of -2, -1. Can we find all of these other things? Well, sometimes it's a lot easier to just draw a little tiny diagram. And I know I say this all the time, but it always helps me a lot. Because if I know that my vertex is at -2, 1, and my focus is at -2, -1, suddenly I can see that my focus has to be in the bowl of my parabola. Therefore, this is going to open down. And my directrix is going to be here, and it's going to be a positive number because it opens down. So I can also just look at this picture and say, my axis of symmetry is x equals -2. I can also just look at these 2 points right here and say, look, my x values don't change. That means it's going to be x equals -2. Now, we know that the distance from the vertex to the focus goes from -1 right here all the way to 1. How far is that? That's going to be 2 points. From here, 1, here, 1, that's 2. So p is going to equal 2. Some people would say p is going to equal -2. Well, our a is going to be negative because it opens down. All right, the distance from the vertex to the directrix is from 1 up, the same distance of 2. So that's going to go from 1 up 2 to 3. Therefore, our directrix is y equals 3. See how simple that is? Now, keep going. We're not done yet. Now that we know that p is 2, we know our axis of symmetry is x equals -2, and our directrix is y equals 3. We need to, in order to find our equation, we need to figure out what a is. So if a equals 1 over 4p, obviously it's going to be 1 over 8. But remember, it opens down, so it's going to be a -1 over 8. And here is my equation, because we already know our vertex is -2, and 1. Seems very common sense, very simple. Now, the other way that you can do that is to do this through straight equations. If the parabola has a vertex of -2, 1 and a focus of -2, -1, use all of these equations to find what you need. Very simple, very possible. Here we have HK, -2, 1, which means our H is -2 here, and our P is going to be K plus P, or our K, our -1 is K plus P. Well, we know that K is 1. So we can come over here and say K plus P equals -1. We already know what those equal. So when we put that together and we solve for P, P ends up being -2, which is very convenient when we move on, knowing that we have our vertex, we have our focus, we have P equals -2. Therefore, our axis of symmetry, look up here, x equals h, that has to be -2. Our directrix is y equals k minus p, and so our directrix is going to be 3, or y equals 3, and then we just need to find, again, our a. Well, a equals 1 over 4p. In this case, p equals -2 when we find it through the equation, which is the same -1 over 8. So the equation, again, is y equals -1/8 x plus 2 squared plus 1. Now, this is your turn. I want you to take a minute. I don't care which version you use. If you need to know all those equations to find it, you're going to have to memorize all those because I'm not going to give them to you. Or you can draw the little diagram and use your common sense approach. It's up to you. You can pause the video now, and the slides are, the answers are on the next slide. Go ahead and pause. Okay, here are the answers. Double check, make sure that you did everything right. There's always a chance I made a mistake because I do that often, but I don't think so this time. So I hope this really helps you to do this on the final. See you Monday. Oh no, pausing.